Hey, WokeNFree Nation. Newsly is an audio app for iOS and Android. It picks up web articles about the most trending topics on the web at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice.
For the first time in the history of the internet, the entire web becomes listenable. Browse articles from topics you choose and start playing. Stop scrolling, start listening.
You can follow any topic as specific as you like, from sports, science, to Bitcoin, or even one of your favorite celebrities. It will find you the latest articles and read them to you aloud.
And they have podcasts as well. Explore trending podcasts from over 50 countries. Our podcast, WokeNFree, is there too.
Now let's get into the episode. Hi, it's Natasha.
And Khalil.
We are the co-hosts of
WokeNFree.
Thank you for tuning in to our 274th episode of WokeNFree. If you've been tuning in every week for WokeNFree Wednesday, you know that WokeNFree is all about being real and honest with each other and you. We talk about everything and anything important to us, you, the world, and nothing is off the table. This week, we're going to have an interesting conversation around anxiety. Dun, 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 dun.
Finally.
Yeah, a lot to say here. So before we dive deep into the subject, a couple of things we have to cover. First, go to WokeNFree.com, not only to listen to this episode, but please download it through the Podbean app. If you're able to download it through the app, then you can put in your comments. And that's really important because that's how we hear your thoughts on our weekly topics. So for you, how has anxiety played a role in your life? How is it showing up for you currently? How have you seen it show up in the past? We want to hear all about it, so make sure you do that. Now, if you listen to podcasts on a device where you can't add more apps onto it, like the Podbean app, a couple of tears are shed, but that's okay. You can still support the show by going to WokeNFree.com, going on the Listen tab, and then picking your platform of choice where you're going to follow and subscribe to WokeNFree. So we are on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Play. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Samsung Podcasts, Pandora. It's like a WokeNFree world. So where podcasts are listened to, we are pretty much there. So we would really encourage you to follow and subscribe everywhere you see us. Also on WokeNFree.com itself, you can click subscribe to follow the show through the Podbean app. So that's really helpful as well. On social, we'd love to hear from you and for you to like and subscribe to us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and everywhere else that you see us that I may have not mentioned at WokeNFree. So definitely follow and support us, and also connect with us. If you're on there and you see an interesting post or you see one of our episodes and want to holler, we want to hear from you. Now, lastly, we would also appreciate you to give us your feedback on the show. So 90 seconds of your time, pick your platform of choice where you want us give us a review at. So again, WokeNFree.com, the Listen tab, then you can pick your favorite place to do that. And tell us, 5-star reviews are welcome, along with any other thoughts that you have to share. And with that, I am going to kick it to you, Khalil.
And before we start the conversation, we probably should share a little bit about ourselves. This week, how about we ask, would you rather drink soda from a can or a glass bottle?
That's not, well, I don't know what you're really asking there. But I would say
the question is,
I know, but it seems like there's another nefarious reason why you're asking me this. But I don't know, that's where my mind is going.
Oh, all right.
But to answer the question, I would say the glass bottle because I think that's better for the environment because you can recycle the glass, I believe, better than aluminum. And then secondly, it just, for me at least, my experience has been soda from a glass bottle just seems to taste a little bit better and seems to just be more I don't want to say classy because I know that that's not appropriate, but that
makes you a classy lady.
It
then
shows just how tacky I truly am.
Oh,
but
if you say it like
for
that.
me, it just, I don't know, I just enjoy it more. It just seems like a better experience from a drinking perspective as well. But how about you?
I definitely go for the glass as well. It's
Mm.
best for the purity of the soda at hand. Because technically glass, it doesn't retain any of those like
Elements
flavors.
of it, right? Yeah.
Or it doesn't put out any flavor onto the whatever's
Into the
in
soda,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's good to use glass containers in general, so
That's cool.
I would go with the glass. The aluminum, I think you can get kind of a little bit of metallic kind of stuff going on with
That's
that.
gross,
so
yeah.
that's not the best for putting in, and it's better than plastic, but glass is definitely the way you want to go if you want to look at your storage options. That's the thing I would do. I wouldn't want to have soda out of like plastic. That would give me a lot of anxiety.
That's where you're going with it.
Yeah, it makes me anxious just thinking about it. If I can,
does it really? Is this your anxious voice?
If I can have, because I'm thinking about it, but it's upsetting to me.
I think this is more your flagrant voice.
That's it's not what I would call flagrant, but if you would call it that, that might be a symptom of my anxiety showing.
Maybe it's my anxiety.
Okay, maybe you're anxious about what's happening to me.
Okay.
And maybe you can explain to our listeners what is anxiety and how has it played a role in your life.
Thank you for asking, Khalil.
Because I've explained how it's playing a role in my life currently.
Clearly.
Yeah. You see how it's very upsetting.
You're just a whole stress ball, aren't you?
I'm very stressed out about this question.
I bet you are.
It's giving me a lot of anxiety.
Watch you how you are right
now.
now.
They would be upset. They'd say, wow, I wish she wasn't like that.
They would say, this is abhorrent.
Yeah. You should be so anxious.
All right. Well, if you go to American Psychological Association, and FYI for folks new to the WokeNFree platform, all of our links for our episodes are shared in the show notes. So simply go to WokeNFree.com, and whatever episode you're listening to, you can see all our links, so you have access to the information and the research yourself as well. So the APA, again, American Psychological Association, defines anxiety as an emotion characterized by feelings of tension, worried thoughts, and physical changes like increased blood pressure. People with anxiety disorders usually have reoccurring intrusive thoughts or concerns. They may avoid certain situations out of worry. They may also have physical symptoms such as sweating, trembling, dizziness, or a rapid heartbeat. Anxiety is not the same as fear, but they are often used interchangeably. Anxiety is considered a future-oriented, long-acting response broadly focused on a diffuse threat, whereas fear is an appropriate, present-oriented, and short-lived response to a clearly identifiable and specific threat. Very, very interesting. And then if you want to break down anxiety even further, I found on singlecare.com a really great breakdown of all the different types of anxiety. So there's something called generalized anxiety disorder. So GAD, which is most common anxiety disorder. This is diagnosed after a person has anxiety with little to provoke it. So most days of a span of at least 6 months, this will begin to affect a person's social, work, and home life. And according to we've referenced them before, the NIMH, which is the National Institute of Mental Health, symptoms of GAD, again, generalized anxiety disorder, may include feeling restless or on edge, feeling fatigue often, difficulty focusing, irritability, excessive feelings of worry that are difficult to control, and difficulty with sleeping. Then they have other things, and I'm not going to go into it. You can check out all the links, again, at WokeNFree.com. But panic disorders is another one. Phobia-related disorders. There's obsessive-compulsive disorders, so OCD.
That's part of anxiety?
All the different types of breakdowns of anxiety-oriented type of behavior. Okay. Yeah. Then there's post-traumatic stress disorder, and it goes on. But, to answer the second part of the question, how has it shown up in my life? Well, I would say I've dealt with anxiety in the following areas of my life. So first, academics. I was very, very anxious as a child around trying to be perfect, trying to have the best grades in class, trying to be the best and be the best of myself. And that created a sense of not feeling like I was ever doing enough. And I would say that has carried on through my life and manifested in other ways. So, you take academics, I'm no longer in school other than the school of life. You always have to keep learning, but, even in the work, in my day job, or in entrepreneurship, or being a writer, a content creator, never feeling like enough is enough. And so that feeling then manifests into kind of worry, but also like, oh gosh, is this going to perform how I need it to perform? Definitely sleepless nights. Definitely, I've seen it affect the mention of irritability for sure. For sure with that. Also, fear of rejection of others. That is, I would say, has driven anxiety in my life before. Weight loss, weight gain. Every time you lose weight, I definitely would say I've seen increased anxiety of like, oh gosh, you're 2 pounds down. You can't go back up. And, the yo-yo effect, which is very common for many women. It's just... life does what it does. And then, of course, motherhood. Never feeling like I'm doing enough. Always feeling like it's, even when I am doing enough, is it enough? Am I failing? It's just, yeah. So I would say I am a walking, talking stress ball for sure. But sometimes they're worse than others. Yeah. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it now, though.
Before you hear my thoughts, I think I should talk about Psychology Today and how they group the anxiety into actually 5 categories. So I understand that you were listing like the types of anxiety. I think this is just how anxiety could like express itself, just a little more detailed as they have put it into. So the first one, you mentioned it, is the physical. So a physical symptom would be something such as goosebumps. If you get that, that could actually let you know that you're having anxiety at the moment. Yeah. So that lets you know. They say there's cognitive symptoms such as thoughts. So just anxious thoughts and being worried about something or some fear.
Yes.
Behavioral, such as fear of not being able to perform.
Oh, wow.
Emotional, such as irritability and hopelessness.
Definitely there. Yes.
And then interpersonal, such as people seeking reassurance from partners or fearing being dependent on somebody. So two opposite ends of the spectrum is actually, you could have anxiousness from that. Because, I mean, people just fearing being alone, right? That can be a form of anxiety.
Yeah, I've never thought of it that way, but that makes sense.
That's actually a form of anxiety there. They're saying that falls into. So the anxiety that I get is when I have to do like a presentation and I'm on the spot because I don't want to mess up and I want to get everything right. So that's when I definitely... 12
years ago is your reference point.
I mean, I do presentations to you every couple of years too, right?
Every couple of years?
I've got to
how to make this work.
Because you put me on the spot. You're like, hey, you're going to have to prove that this is an actual true thing that's going on. So I say, all right, I'll write up my report and I'll present my findings.
Don't bring up your falseness.
My falseness. You tell me about it all the time. You say it's not true, and I tell you I'll show you the report on it.
I'm so
Do I not tell you that?
Is that the only reference point for you?
No, that's a big
one
point.
example.
Having to present, and I have to do it, every couple of years.
As you laugh and giggle about it, yeah, you sound terribly anxious about it.
Yeah, because it's not happening. When it happens, I'm not in this kind of mood. I'm like,
that's true.
I have to shuffle my papers and get it all ready for you.
Yeah, I guess, it's interesting. I guess you're saying it. For me, I've interpreted that as angered or disgruntledness, but you're saying that it's more anxiety. Okay.
Yeah, I would say that. I think that's that. Because I can get goosebumps from it sometimes, I think.
Lies, okay.
No, I'm just thinking, I think I can. It was a while ago. I think I did get goosebumps before from it, so it can come off as that. And then I can get, anxiety just when...
What about with KJ, our son?
What do you mean with him?
Yeah, do you ever have anxiety? Like, I mentioned it from a mothering perspective, but what about as a fathering perspective? Any anxiety?
No, I don't think so, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't say for him. I get anxiety from, like, if a police officer is pulling me over, then I'm going to get anxiety.
Black man status, yes.
Yeah, because you just gotta...
Me too. Me too.
It's a worry thing.
It's definitely scary.
You don't know how things could turn out, so that's the thing. Whenever
I'm scared every time I see a cop. Yeah,
technically, there's a weapon involved, right? So it's you don't know if anything could happen. So I definitely have some anxiety. I try not to let it overcome me. I like to use the secret and think about the best things I can, but definitely will feel it then. And in general, like if I'm getting in trouble or something, so if I'm drinking wine and I shouldn't have drank the wine. Something like that. Like
So
if
a
there's
regular
one on
Tuesday
table.
night then for you.
No, I'm just mentioning, like, let's say, imagine if I wasn't 21 and I was drinking wine and I shouldn't be.
Only fictional stories now. Oh, okay.
I'm just saying,
okay.
it's a reason to be anxious, though.
I'm surprised you
Youngsters
didn't bring up
get anxious from
my common thing that I do with you that I think drives anxiety for you. My multitasking demands. Where it's like, Khalil, have you done this? Khalil, have you... That doesn't drive anxiety for you? I feel like it does.
It makes me anxious, though. I don't feel like that. I just feel like I get, like...
overwhelmed, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if I feel anxious from that.
Interesting. Okay. I would have thought you would have said that.
Because eventually...
Because I know that could be anxiety driving for
it could be. That's a good point, but...
Not for
maybe,
you.
I don't... Maybe in the past it was, but...
Well, now you just said stop listening, so...
It's not stop listening. So, think about a gallon bucket, right?
I thought you were going to say, like, think about a bug and, like, buzzing in your...
No, my example is going to make more sense because look at this. Because, all right, imagine you have a bucket. It's only a gallon that you can a gallon of liquid that you can pour in that.
Okay.
So you give me a task. You give me 5 gallons of tasks. So I can get the 1
gallon.
Yeah. So all the other tasks go to the wayside. That's what it's like.
So that to me sounds like excuse for mediocre behavior.
Before I was like a bucket that was sprouting hands from it, trying to grab all the water and trying to do everything.
I don't know what type of Harry Potter nonsense is this.
Now I'm just a single bucket that just gets filled up and overflows.
So you're just deflated and insufficient.
No, very sufficient, but only at the whatever went in there first. It's like first in gets done, the last in goes just to the wayside.
Example, imagine a buzzing
Let's hear your
bee.
Thing. Doing what? Just blowing up?
Jesus. That's so violent, Khalil.
A bee explodes. I mean, we don't want the honeybees to explode. We want more. That's an anxious thing, too. Like, where did all the honeybees go? That can drive my anxiety.
So you're not taking this seriously at all, then?
I can't be anxious for that? Like, where they go?
I'm posing a thought and seeing what your thought is to that, yeah.
I'm being a little anxious on you even asking that, actually.
So you're lying now.
No, I mean, I don't know if I'm getting goosebumps. I have to check because what you're doing is making me
seriously.
I'm very flustered right now.
I bet you are. My question now is, how would you say anxiety is impacting most people? And you can, speak from the American perspective since we happen to reside in the United States.
Well, according to the Mayo Clinic, actually, it could lead to other worse mental and physical conditions, actually. So it's not something you want to leave unchecked. You can get things like depression, which that occurs often with people that are already diagnosed with the anxiety disorder or or another mental health disorders. It can lead to substance abuse, as we see in this country, right? I mean, is that why people are doing the substance abuse? Is that the driving force? I mean, it's possible. I don't think everybody's to even say that we've diagnosed everybody that does have anxiety disorders.
Definitely not.
Definitely not a true statement, right? There's people that go undiagnosed all the time.
Yep.
It can lead to trouble sleeping, so that's why we got insomnia, insomniacs, and that kind of trouble going on. And I didn't know this, but it could lead to digestive or bowel problems. I guess that makes sense. That makes sense.
Stress really impacts the body terribly. Yeah.
Yeah, because even like I said, what if you're going to do a performance and you get that feeling in your stomach? Wow. The what? No, that's not a real thing. You take this seriously.
Diarrhea is not a real thing.
Not for when you're going to do a performance. No one's ever.
Have you asked every singer?
No, but I'm saying
if they've had diarrhea before they're about to perform.
Yeah, because they had the Taco Tuesday or something going on.
And who's not taking this seriously?
No, because that's different.
Of all the topics to joke around with.
No, but what you just brought up, you said the runs. You're not taking this seriously at all.
I'm trying to read your
mind. Somebody had the burrito special.
0 for 2.
No, somebody had the burrito special. Then you can say all that, but that's not what happened. We're not having rice and beans.
At bare minimum, I hope everyone is getting a good giggle.
I mean, as
they learn about anxiety.
Yeah, because people get their stomach in knots. Like, they feel like they have knots in their stomach. So that's from anxiety. Headaches and chronic pain, that makes sense. It's a mental disorder. Social isolation. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it too. You fear being accepted by people. So it can make you want to isolate more than from people.
I don't think I've ever felt accepted in my entire life. So it's just easier just to be by myself.
Yeah, so it leads to that. And then you can also have problems functioning at school or work. I guess the anxiety gets in the way.
Definitely.
Interesting. I can't say I've had that specific problem. No, I'm just thinking about it. I don't think
no, you
anxiety's
choose to be
got
to
it.
be
I don't.
alone as opposed to isolating or feeling like.
But
you
even
can't.
functioning, like I don't feel like I would let my anxiety get in the way of me going to school or doing my work.
But remember, though, I mean, you wouldn't maybe
What?
define it as anxiety, but remember you said,
When I'm
like,
sick,
if you're in
man.
high school, you didn't want to, like,
What?
go to, like, you didn't go to your prom.
That's social isolation, though. That has nothing to
But
do
do
with
you feel like
functioning.
anxiety played a role at that, even?
I don't think that's anxiety.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I mean, when I think of anxiety, it'd be like, oh man, if I go, what if this happened? I just didn't go because I didn't know anybody to go with, right?
But you weren't fearful of what bad things could happen? And
I didn't even think of that. I just
All
thought,
right, fair.
why
Fair enough.
would I? It's kind of like if I go to like I don't know, like a yogurt convention. I don't know. I'd rather go to an ice cream convention.
Hot mess.
I know. It's not a good example.
Yogurt.
I know. I'm trying to think of something else. So you know what is a better one? You're gonna hate it, but I always go to this. It's an easy one. What if I go to even a turf grass convention?
Oh, I totally thought you were going to talk about like a
What else could there be?
some type of anime con or something to that effect.
No, but I would go to that though. I mean, I would go to that. That's not
by yourself dressed up in some type of furry outfit.
not a furry outfit. I'm not into that. I would dress in an outfit, but it would not be a furry outfit. It'd be something really cool.
But by yourself?
Yeah,
or
I could.
how about this? You said you never would go to the movie theater by yourself or eat out by yourself. Do you feel like anxiety is attached to any of those items or no?
That, I mean, isn't that, what's that other thing? Not self-reflection or, self-conscious.
Oh, you're self-conscious.
If that's that, where it's kind of like you don't want to be perceived as such and such.
Oh, okay. As that drives
perception.
that drives why you don't do those things by yourself, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
okay. As opposed to any anxiety of like,
it's not like,
oh gosh, what if people?
No, because I can do it. I'm just like, I just feel like, oh, the people are going to know stuff about me.
Certain thing.
Yeah,
oh,
like it's just like now people are going to know this. I mean, that's like a fine line, right? It's hard to say that.
Okay.
I don't think it's
I've done both. I've
but
eaten out by myself. I've
done
gone to
that.
the movie theater by myself.
I've never done
several
that.
times.
I don't think I've ever gone to the movie theater by myself, actually, when I think about it.
Oh, gosh. Maybe I've done it 20, 30 times. Yeah.
There's never been a time that I said, you know what, I'm going to just go and see this movie. And a bad thing that I'm about to get to the worst thing, but another bad thing is poor quality of life. So just in general, it can just make your life miserable. Yeah. See, I don't think of me like missing out on movies. That doesn't do that to me. So I don't know. I just don't see it as anxiety driven, to be honest. Okay. And then the worst thing that anxiety can do is suicide. So that's the final frontier.
Coupling a couple of things you mentioned, right? Like not sleeping or having substance abuse or feeling isolated, all of that stuff combined, makes some people feel like, enough is enough. It's
a really serious issue gone unchecked.
And then, they are, death by suicide. That's horrid. Okay, well, on singlecare.com again, there's some really interesting stats I saw that I'd love to share. So in a 2020 survey, 62% of respondents reported experiencing some degree of anxiety. There is an estimated 31% of all adults will experience an anxiety disorder at some point in their life. That was really interesting. And then when
like a third almost?
Yeah, pretty much. And then when you look at worldwide anxiety stats, it's estimated that there's 264 million adults around the globe who have anxiety, and that was shared by World Health Organization in 2017. I imagine with COVID and everything, that number probably went up. And then of these adults, 179 million were female, 63%, and then 105 million were male, 37%. So
that's interesting. Women
experience
have it
more anxiety more than men.
It's almost double.
One would argue, I would think that there may be a hormonal connection to that, right? Because women have such a plethora of hormonal stuff that's going on. I wonder if that's connected to
it could be
who has more prevalence for anxiety.
It's either hormonal or it's men just aren't admitting they have the anxiety, right?
That too. Oh, that's an interesting approach to it.
So it's possible that
men,
like females are more honest when it comes to admitting their issues. So I don't know though. I could be wrong.
So then, if you look at some anxiety stats in the U.S., anxiety is the most common mental disorder in the United States, affecting 40 million adults. And that's according to the ADAA in 2020. And then if you look at prevalence by state of mental illness ranges from lowest in Florida, that surprises me, to highest in Oregon, 22.66%, 16.03% in Florida. But that's from Mental Health America 2017. So again, I imagine numbers could be different if there's a new survey. And that, another thing would be if you look at gender, like we mentioned before, more females than males have it according to the NIMH, which is the National Institute of Mental Health. And then when you look at age, nearly 1/3, so 31.9% of adolescents, so ages 13 through 18, had an anxiety disorder between 2001 and 2004. And of these adolescents, the 17 to 18-year-old age group was most affected, which makes sense. You're in that going to college. It is anxiety-driven periods of time. Now, what I thought was really fascinating was when you look at like education levels. According to this, Americans with higher education are less likely to have an anxiety disorder. Anxiety affects 3.9 million adults who have less than a high school education and 3.3 million who have graduated from high school, 2.8 million with some college, and 3 million who had a college education or more. So
you are now listening to WokeNFree.
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 A podcast about being real and honest.
I don't know. I think the numbers are all really close to each other, to be honest. And I would argue that as someone with a professional degree, a law degree, the amount of anxiety that I witnessed myself as well as experience myself in going not only through high school, through college, and then through law school, the anxiety levels rise, guys. It is incredibly anxiety driving to go to professional school, especially something as rigorous as law school or medical school, things like that. Lies and fairy tales. So that I would want to see more stats. I guess.
Yeah, you have to see more because if you think logically about it, to me that doesn't make sense because like the more you know, the more you can be anxious about more things, right? Now you have more topics. And there's more
on the line because when you go to a graduate program, there's a lot more on the line financially, and then also like just trying to perform. Level. Like there's a lot that goes on with people who are pursuing that in tracking.
One thing I know that's not going on, it's getting the runs trying to get your degree.
I'm not going to speak to how many times I've had diarrhea.
No, it's not about you. I'm just saying these people aren't saying, man, I want to get my degree, but I have the runs. That's not happening.
The fact that you went there.
I had to because you brought that up and that you should.
It really threw you off?
Yeah, you should feel different about how you were taking this topic. You should feel a little bit different about yourself.
I'm taking it quite seriously. I think you're taking this as a joke, though.
No, you brought that up, and I don't know if you've apologized to the listeners for what you brought up.
I think it's adding to great content.
Oh, okay. So maybe it was good that you brought it up.
Correct.
I don't know if it's what happens, but hey.
Interesting. And then also to add to kind of circle around back to what I was discussing, medical causes of anxiety can include thyroid diseases like hyperthyroidism or hypothyroidism. And I have lived with hypothyroidism for many years up until I had my thyroid removed last year. Heart disease, diabetes, side effects from medication, lacking of oxygen, respiratory disorders like chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, emphysema or asthma, illicit drug use or withdrawal from drugs and alcohol, and then IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. So but that's a known thing. Like stress physically destroys us as humans, but this anxiety is also like, it's causing issues. It's definitely not helpful.
Yeah, but the drug use can lead to anxiety as well. So it's you might try to use it to cope with anxiety, but build more anxiety. Yeah. They got to be careful about that. Mm-hmm. We should also tell our listeners now helpful ways to deal with anxiety. Do you have any tips for them?
Yeah, so I saw some 10 strategies. I'm not going to go through all 10. That was on beyondblue.org. And again, if you want all of our resources, go to WokeNFree.com for the episode show notes so that you can click on our links and all of that good jazz. But one tip was slow breathing. I have found that the more that I'm intentional around deep breaths, slow breaths, because I am high energy and I'm always trying to like get out a lot and do a lot at once. slowing down sometimes will allow you to speed up. And so I really like that tip. Another tip that they share that was interesting is get to know your anxiety. They said like keep a diary of it. And what I thought of it with that language of like get to know your anxiety, like date your anxiety, kind of like a lot of times we have anxious feelings and like unless you sit down with yourself to try to understand what is the driving cause, you're just going to be like an anxious ball of just like anxiety and you're just going to be like, but like maybe you'll feel less anxious if you take a deep breath and start to have self-reflection around what is causing the anxiety. Is it people? Is it a situation? Is it your job? Is it not having a job? Is it your parents? Is it your partner? Is it your children? Is it all of it? But piece it out. And each piece has its own anxiety driving trigger for you so that you can then start to say, okay, I need to put this type of boundary in place for this person, for this situation. It really can help formulate more psychological safety for yourself and also get you feeling more in control. Because I know for myself, I can speak when I'm really anxious, which happens quite frequently, is that I feel out of control. And as a Virgo, that is a very dangerous space for me to feel because that's like what I crave. I crave control. I crave peace and I crave freedom. Wow. I really, those are like my 3 tenets of life. And if any of those are threatened, then I start to feel like I'm losing control and I'm just like about to have a mental breakdown. I'm just like, oh my God, I have to get it all together. Yeah. So those are the 3 things. So for me, like that's really helpful. And then another tip that I thought was helpful from this, and again, they give 10, so definitely a lot to check out there.
Wow.
Be kind to yourself. And this, I would say, has been one of the most needed things that I have intentionally focused on as well, because how I grew up, giving yourself grace and being kind to yourself was not a tenet in my household growing up. And I now realize, and what I have to try to implore for our own household as well as our son, is you have to intentionally give yourself grace. You have to say to yourself, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be in a funky mood. It's okay to feel upset about something. As long as you understand what you're going through and you're on a solution to get better, it's okay to give yourself that space to just be kind of and upset. But if you never do and you try to deny it or try to act like your feelings don't exist, you're just going to do more harm to yourself mentally and physically. So those are some helpful tips that I would love to share with the audience.
All right. Those are definitely some tips to take to heart. And I'm just going to add the classic tips that I think you just got to mention just in case people don't think about it. And that's should always talk with a physician about your anxiety just to get diagnosed and see, is this something serious? Or see if they have anything they can do or if they can tailor a treatment for you or just they'll tell you, hey, it's not really, you're okay. You just got to do X, Y, and Z or something. But you could also try to talk to your coach about it, your life coach or something. They might also be able to help you through your struggles. So that's why it's nice having. That's why it's nice having them around. You can talk to them about anything, right? So you could maybe, if you don't have the coach, then you can get a life coach. You can go to Dressing Room 8 if you want.
Thank you for my shout out. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
However,
there's a coach there.
Do remember that.
But I know you don't treat anxiety.
That would be the medical practice of medicine is not where coaches are not practicing medicine.
Yeah, not practice, but you could just let them know that you're going.
Lifestyle tips, yeah.
But it's almost like talking with a friend about anxiety. You can just let them know that you have it. It's not necessarily that they're going to give the treatment that the physician would give you. That's why I say you always talk to the physician first, and then your coach can just be somebody you mentioned that to, just so they know what you're going through.
Yeah, they can help you.
And they can tailor their other advice knowing that you have this anxiety, right? So it's just good to have that. And maybe if you don't have any of that, just a friend or a family you can talk to and let them, they'll hear. You got to find somebody though that'll hear you out when you need it, not someone who's just going to try to like shame you about it or tell you do something different. Just somebody that'll listen to you and not try to like shame you. Yeah. So that's if you're going to find somebody that's not a physician or coach, then make sure that this person isn't going to make your anxiety worse.
That's such a good point.
Thing.
Absolutely. All right. And then with that, when you look at content, the content you're consuming, the content that comes across your phone, TV, internet, etc., would you say that you see that anxiety is discussed enough?
Well, that's interesting. I want to look at it as my social media, because social media, they try to tailor it to the person. So what I mean by that is
through
that
the algorithm, right?
Yeah, so the algorithm would kind of know, oh, you're triggered by this sort of content, so I'm going to show you more of this. So for me, I don't get that kind of content. They show me Free Willy and stuff, because that's the kind of stuff that I see.
So
they do. It shows me that now. I don't know. I get orcas and whales and dolphins.
It should just show you Matrix.
Then I get funny
things.
I get like people in weird Halloween costumes. It's like
Here we
cars.
go with the furries again. Yeah.
No, not the furries. The one that I got it was not a PG one, but it was a boy that was wearing it. It was kind of messed up. So.
Oh Lord.
Just think about alien abduction and think about if you had a costume for that.
Ew.
Exactly. This is what people purchase, and that's what they showed me. So, but that could make people anxious though too. Because guess what? No, the thing is, I don't get anxious about that, but people could get triggered by that.
Oh God,
right?
yeah, that
you
sounds
can see
horrifying.
that. You can say, I don't want an alien to do something to me. I mean, whatever those acts like, that's different. But we know that it's. Just in general, I don't think our media normalizes anxiety. They don't, at least in Western society, they don't talk about it really. It's not brought up and explained and saying, hey, you can do this and what's causing the anxiety. I think you'll often see people with anxiety in content, but I don't think people actually address it. They just like, wow, that person's weird. They need to get some help. They'll just shake their head.
Judgment.
Yeah, you just judge them like, oh, don't go near them. That's just the weirdo.
Yeah.
I think that's how it's basically talked about. It's not actually said that, hey, a lot of people have anxiety and we all get anxious. So it's something that we can address. I definitely don't think anxiety is targeted and discussed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I would, a couple months ago, Megan Thee Stallion, she had a song called Anxiety, in her new album. And I was so excited to hear that there's a major artist who's discussing this topic, because, if you think even within the music industry alone, of all entertainment industries, how much anxiety driving must that be? Will I be signed? Will my record label keep me? Am I performing enough? Am I hitting enough records? Like, they must be just literally walking stress balls. So love that she brought that up and had some lyrics around that, because it needs to be talked about. To your point, I agree. It is not normalized enough. We see anxious characters, but we don't go through the conversations around anxiety with them, nor do we see even storylines of treatment for anxiety. It's just, to your point, the person who's just like wound up way too tight, and then they unwind through things like substance abuse or maybe other types of destructive behaviors. Yeah. And instead, it would be really cathartic to see characters getting treatment, to see characters just normalizing the language around anxiety, and this is a trigger for this, and just using more that terminology to help people say, you know what, I have anxiety. These are things that trigger my anxiety. Like conversations like that, especially the youth, because they need to be able to understand how to discuss this. You can't treat something if you don't even know how to talk about it.
Well, yeah, you should talk about it. But would you want to see the treatment too on screen, or just the talking about it?
I would love to see it all, because at the end of the day, we have got to bring mental health issues to the forefront from the beginning, the middle, and the end. We got to see it, talk about it, feel it, and do more of it, because there are too many people who don't feel comfortable. Even self-included, we are not necessarily, like, we support people seeking medical health treatment, but I wouldn't say that even you and I are on the journey for where we could be with, like, I have a therapist, or I do, like,
oh wow,
no, yeah, we haven't gone there. And I know you would, like, you'd be like Simba, like, therapy? Ha! I laugh in the face of mental health. Like, you'd be like, what? Batteries eat.
That's so unfair to say. That is so unfair.
And I'd be like, KJ would be there just laughing with you. Like, both of you. I laugh in the face of mental health. Like, and it's like,
that's so unfair.
Disasters. It's so unfair that I shared the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to learn how to meditate one day. Come on.
Exactly. When you're dead, right? You'll be super still. You'll be practically Buddha at that
Meditation
point.
Feels like it would be something really relaxing. And
the fact that you said that you're talking about it in a, like, kind of imaginatory This thing we call,
You're so wrong. No, because I guess what? I've looked at certain content that's talked about meditation. It's not like I haven't seen that. I've seen an episode or two.
Like I said, we could do better. we could accept it more. We could practice more. We could be better.
I know, but I mean, I'm
sorry.
I
envision
the
going
journey.
to throw us out and then put the shade lamp on us.
Yeah, but look, I'm throwing out good
woke and free
excuses,
and
though.
honest.
At least I'm throwing out good excuses. Like, I'm not just letting it
There
loud
are
and
no
open.
excuses. It's just do or don't do. That's it. There is no try.
Really? Oh, man. There's no
Just
try.
do.
I mean, but even if I've done stuff towards the journey, that doesn't count. Because guess
In
what?
your mind?
No, you know why? It's all about the journey. It's not about the destination. So that's what I got to remind you. And even if you just started the journey, that's commendable.
Ha! I laugh in the face of mental health.
See, you're so wrong. That is so wrong.
And
to
you
say
know that would be your response.
That's so wrong. But I told you I have other things that I'm going to work on eventually for that. So
good to know.
You should at least give me some,
we shall see, I guess.
some high fives for that.
We shall see.
You should get like an air high five on that one.
Nice.
Here we go, yo. Here we go, yo. So what's the scenario? It's scenario time, guys. Scenario 1. Gurbanguly has an interview coming up at a space agency, which he has dreamed of working for since he was a young lad. He is extremely anxious about this interview. His friend told him he should vape some marijuana to calm his nerves. Gurbanguly responded that should be okay because he is not into drugs, so wants to use something natural to help him. Do you think he should go forward with smoking weed to ease his nerves?
So this scenario makes me very anxious, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Does it make you anxious because do you know there's people that consider marijuana not to be a drug?
You know I'm Jamaican, right? Well, at least my parents are from Jamaica, and so I consider myself Jamaican American. And so
what does that mean for the audience?
Like this, asking me if I, enjoy tea. I mean, it's.
But is that not a drug though? Marijuana.
So I've never done weed, but everyone else I know has done weed, and I would say that yes, growing up, it was presented to me as this is natural and this is this.
So growing up, you think there are a group of people that feel that weed is natural since it's grown from the earth and it's not a drug.
Yeah.
Okay. No, just want to get that across because this is this could be a debate. Again, this is a debated topic.
Yeah,
like there's people that would think it's not natural.
I am not the arbiter, nor am I the representative of Jamaica or weed
smokers.
Oh,
I know, because that's...
I've never smoked weed myself. So, but do I believe it is natural? Yeah, I think the weed plant does grow naturally on our earth, so I would define it as natural. However, this makes me very anxious around the idea of having to deal with a very high stress situation with some external type of stimulant. Even though it is natural and it is from the earth, the problem of it, I find, or that is presented through content that I consume, is it seems like it can be a little bit, you can create a dependency upon it. So say he does go forward with using it for the interview, say it goes well, he gets the job, but then, does he need to now smoke for the first day? Does he now need to
vaping.
smoke? Or vaping, which has other types of issues we talked about in the episode as well, a previous episode. So either way, however you're consuming it, smoking it, I mean, maybe the only way maybe I would be more comfortable if you're going to have the stimulant is through tea.
Wow.
But ganja tea,
so it makes a difference how you consume it.
But I generally, like I said, it makes me very anxious because when does it stop, right? So interview, first day, first week of orientation, 20 years later, we're still on this weed tip, right? Like,
well, you just do it before a deadline, like a deadline's approaching, you need to get your weed. And then it just makes me
wonder, and then does the dose amount increase? Like, it creates anxiety just thinking about having this kind of dependency to it. I think that people who do weed rock, people who don't do weed rock, like anywhere you sit on this, do you whatever you feel comfortable for, but specifically for like, I have a really hard situation coming up in my life, let me go do X, can get a little bit dangerous. So I would not recommend this. I would say try to identify what he's most nervous about and try to do something that is not dependent upon another type of consumption. So, he could, to your point, meditate. He could work out. He could start doing breathing exercises. He could do yoga. He could do a lot of different things to try to get his body in a more zen state for this, as opposed to depending upon some external stimulant like marijuana or alcohol or ...
Well, I mean, yeah, that's, man, alcohol to do it. I think that's probably, I would, if this was the alcohol thing, I would say a hard no. He's to definitely not do alcohol to ease your nerves before an interview.
I mean, you'll get real loose.
I think you're going the wrong way with that one. Yeah, that's definitely not the way to go. So in this case, I would say if he's done it before, then he can use it. But if he's never done marijuana before and he's just going to use it to get through this thing, I think that's kind of crazy, to be honest. And you shouldn't be using it just to get through the situation. So if you've done it, if you do like weed on the regular, then go ahead. But if you don't, then I don't think this is the time to start. Scenario 2. Libba jumped into a relationship after a recent breakup because last time she was single for too long, she started having panic attacks. She's not really happy with her significant other, but is scared that the breakup will hurt her partner. Should she always be in a relationship to prevent her panic attacks, or could she do something else?
Another really great scenario, because this really triggers the idea of some folks just being in a relationship because the fear of not being in one is too scary or too triggering in and of itself. However, we come into this world alone and we will die alone. So everyone's got to find a way to be okay being by themselves. As scary and as upsetting as that sounds, it's just a reality. And I know, yes, we have the privilege of spending 18 years together. So, it's kind of like, what do you know? However, we don't spend every minute together. And if you can't be by yourself, that is really indicative of the fact that you need a better relationship with yourself, because that's the most important relationship you'll ever have in this world, with the one with yourself. So no, I would rather her be by herself and have panic attacks and learn to work on how to resolve or reduce or diminish the amount of panic attacks she's having than to just be in a relationship just to be in a relationship, because that's not really fair to her significant other. Yeah,
I agree. This is a terrible idea. You shouldn't use relationships to try to ease your anxiety. That is not a solution. No one would ever suggest that. So definitely do something else. Go seek some medical advice and help get your life in order, because I think you're hurting other people's life by bringing them into this type of situation that you're not even enjoying. So definitely don't do this. Scenario 3. Manisha has worked in her delivery position at the same company for over 30 years. She loves her job and takes pride in her work. Recently, while commuting to work, she gets severe chest pains and feels immense fear. Once she arrives, the anxiety symptoms subside. Should she quit her job to stop these symptoms from ever occurring again?
Another really interesting scenario. So this sounds like someone who would be a great candidate for remote work.
I thought you were going to say something else. Okay.
What were you?
Like somebody that should go to your services.
Coaching?
Yeah. I thought you were going to say that. I was like, maybe, yeah. I don't know.
Well, yes.
She wants to start something different.
However, it seems like Manisha's getting anxiety in the transportation to her job. And so I'm not necessarily sure quitting the job is the most appropriate situation. Okay. She might want to explore hybrid working as a first step if her job and her manager is amenable to that. And if not, like I said, it might be time to consider remote work because it seems like the traveling is causing her anxiety, which, listen, for being former New Yorkers, we lived in a part of Long Island where it was an hour train ride I had to get into the city, and then had to walk and or take a train to get to my job. I couldn't tell you how much anxiety I was experiencing during that whole hour and a half transportation period. But it is not fun, and it is not cute, nor is it calming in any way. So that's what I would consider. I would think about maybe understanding why the transportation is causing such anxiety for her. And then, does she even have to travel at this point? Maybe given that she's worked for over 30 years, she probably has a lot of experience. Maybe working from home is an option for her, and then she can kind of reduce the anxiety that she's experiencing.
All right. That's a nice tip. Maybe maybe she could just go for a hybrid remote type thing. Mm-hmm. But it is a little extreme to just quit your job, especially when, as you said, it's the commuting that's probably is causing these issues, right? Mm-hmm. So let's deal with the commuting. My solution would actually be something that it's going to blow your mind, and I know you're not going to go for it, but it's going to be either take the bus or do a ride share service or catch a ride with a fellow coworker. So I know you're going to hate those options, but she can do some of those because maybe she hates driving, and that's what's causing this. Try to get to the bottom of what's causing this, so you can just try for a week, doing a alternate transportation to work and see what happens. Maybe that'll bring your
anxiety down, the panic attacks, all control. That stuff, yeah.
So do that before just straight up quitting your job that you've worked for 30 years.
If
she's worked it for over 30 years.
If she's independently wealthy and she's doing this for kicks and giggles, then yeah, she could.
Even though she loves her job and she takes pride in the work.
Yeah, but I mean, if she was also going to be so flippant to be like, peace out.
Well, but she hates having anxiety attacks, right? Because some people just can't deal with it.
Who doesn't?
Well, but some people just really won't deal with it, right? They just say, I don't want that. So that's why she was jumping to an extreme, but she doesn't have to, right? We gave some other alternatives for her, so try one of those first. True. But she loves her job. Don't let her just...
That's what I'm saying. Try to find an alternative. And also, being that she's been over there for 30 years, they need to be amenable to her doing hybrid work, unless she's, some type of... Her role requires her to... But over 30 years, one would argue, one could think she's in management, though.
She could do logistics.
Do you need to manage in person, or can you manage from home, right? Or like I said, hybrid.
If she goes, I don't know if she's in management or not. It
depends on what her role is, so.
But if she's actually driving the truck around and delivering stuff.
That's not a remote opportunity.
Unless you could remote control the vehicle and then put a robot in your place.
In the Matrix.
Put a robot in your place, too. And it goes out and it delivers the packages.
And who's taking this seriously?
Okay, I mean, what if there's a drone in there that the drone delivers the packages?
And we are at that time again.
Exactly.
Exactamente. It's coming to the end of our 274th episode of
Woke and Free.
Quite the episode discussing anxiety. So, Khalil, what do folks need to do now?
They know what to do. They know to come back next week for the new Woke and Free Wednesday episode. They know to make sure they follow us on social media to follow along the conversation. And make sure to tune in next week for Woke and Free Wednesdays to join the conversation at WokeNFree.com.
If you'd like to be a guest on the show, we're definitely considering folks who are interested in sharing their story and sharing their wisdom with the Woke and Free Nation for 2023. Hit us up on our Contact Us page at WokeNFree.com. That's WokenFree.com. For social media, like I said earlier, we're very active, so always feel free to contact us, follow, and subscribe to each of our channels. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Pinterest, and LinkedIn at Woke and Free. And all sponsorship and collaboration queries, you can hit us up on our Contact Us page at WokenFree.com.
If you didn't already subscribe, please do share the episode and make sure you come back to join the conversation every Wednesday for Woke and Free Wednesdays. Remember, Woke and Free is more than a podcast, it is a way of life. Until next time.